Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Gina Sunderland, Food and Consumer Relations Specialist Dietitian with Manitoba Chicken Producers. Welcome to our Manitoba Chicken Summer Grilling Facebook Live. And I am so happy and excited to be joined by my good friend and colleague Nita, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone. So I just mentioned a little while ago, my name is Nita Sharda. I'm a registered dietitian just like Gina, and I have a huge passion for food, nutrition, and education all wrapped into one. And today I'm going to be sharing a really great recipe that I developed actually years ago, but finally had the inkling to share it with my community last fall, and now is actually the perfect time for it. It's my family-friendly tandoori chicken, and we love having this. Maybe on a weekly basis in our home. There's a few different ways you can prepare it, so I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about that.
And I am so excited to learn this recipe firsthand from you, Nita. I've made it many times and guaranteed it is so delicious. So just before we launch into our recipes, I'm excited to share our Manitoba Spanish chicken skewers with yogurt sauce in a second. But it's always a great time when you're cooking to talk about food safety for just a moment. So while Nita and I were physically distanced getting these dishes ready for you, of course we washed our hands. So wash your hands with warm soapy water for 20 minutes before cooking, sometimes during cooking if you are handling any kind of raw meat or poultry, as well as after cooking. And another super favorite food safety tip that is foolproof and will keep you and your family safe in the kitchen is to have two different cutting boards. I love to have a wooden cutting board for breads, fruits, and vegetables. And then a great economical kitchen tool is to have a plastic or acrylic cutting board that you can wash with hot soapy water or put in the dishwasher for any of your meat, fish, and poultry. So now I know everyone's excited to learn these two great summer grilling recipes. And you know, this has been a challenging time. And now that some of the restrictions have lifted a little bit in Manitoba and we can get together with friends and family and do that comfortably outdoors, we think these recipes are just so perfect for any of your backyard grilling parties. These little Spanish chicken skewers, you can just serve guests. They can pick up their own skewer. With the tandoori chicken, you can pick that up and wrap it in a naan or a flatbread, and they're just super recipes. So way I start the Spanish chicken skewers with yogurt sauce is I make the yogurt sauce and let those flavors melt and then pop that yogurt in the fridge. So I like to use full fat Greek yogurt, nice and high in protein, and it's got a really nice creamy taste. So into that yogurt, there's a neat ingredient in the yogurt sauce and in the Spanish chicken skewers, and it's smoked paprika. So if you haven't tried smoked paprika, it's really delicious. It gives a nice smoky flavor. Even if you're making these skewers in the oven or in a pan, it's almost like they've just come off the grill. You can use regular paprika if you don't enjoy the flavor of the smoked paprika. So it's 1 teaspoon into a cup of Greek yogurt, a clove of minced garlic, and then about half a teaspoon of salt and about half a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. I like to just whisk that together as step 1 in this recipe. And this yogurt sauce is delicious with so many things, including these skewers. And then the last step is just a cup of fresh cilantro. Always adds a lot of flavor. I'm growing some in my garden right now. It's coming along beautifully. For those people that don't enjoy the flavor of cilantro, we like to always give different options, and you can use a flat leaf Italian parsley or any other favorite herb. So I'm just going to set this aside.
It smells great.
You can smell it,
yeah.
All the way from over there. Next step is to make a delicious marinade for these Spanish chicken skewers. This marinade comes together quickly and it marinates the chicken so fast because it's got that citrus or lemon in it. So it's the juice of a whole lemon as well as the zest of the whole lemon. Oh, that smells good too. Can you smell that, Nita, from way over there? We've got about 3 tablespoons of our canola oil. Cayenne, I use half a teaspoon, or you can use a whole teaspoon. I like a little bit of heat, but not too much. A teaspoon of cumin or coriander. Our tablespoon of smoked paprika again. And half a teaspoon of salt to taste. About 4 cloves of chopped garlic. And about a tablespoon of fresh oregano or 2 teaspoons of dry. And again, it's a wonderful herb to grow in your garden. I'm just going to whisk that together. Comes together very, very quickly. And you can see how beautiful that smoked paprika looks. It gives it that lovely, lovely red color. Just going to pour that over our chicken. Now this recipe, I used chicken thighs. And it's nice and flexible because you can use either chicken breasts or chicken thighs. So 8 chicken thighs, and I cut them in these little ribbons. I'm going to show you. Each thigh cuts into about 3 ribbons, and they just skewer beautifully onto a metal skewer or a wooden skewer. I'd recommend marinating this for at least 15 minutes in the fridge, or you can marinate it overnight. You can even pop it into a resealable Ziploc bag and let it marinate. But because of the citrus or the lemon juice, the marinade does penetrate the chicken very quickly. So 8 skinless, boneless chicken thighs or 4 chicken breasts. I love to have these skewers because you can use them over and over again. Or you can use wooden skewers that you can get just about anywhere. Just be sure to soak them so that they don't burn on the grill. And I know Nita had mentioned she's really interested to learn how to skewer these. It's very simple. It's a little messy, but I like getting my hands right in the kitchen. And if you wash your hands well before and after, you're all good to go. So you can see how these are just cut in ribbons. And then I am just going to show you how easily these slide onto the skewers. The great thing about cutting the chicken into these thin ribbons is it skewers beautifully. It looks pretty for all of your guests, your friends and family, but also it cooks very quickly too. So I'm just going to show you how you make one of these. And
that's a lot less daunting than I thought it would be.
Yeah, and you get for sure 8 nice size skewers with your 8 chicken thighs. And there we go, just that simple. And I want to make sure that we have time to get into your beautiful recipe, Nita, so I am going to pass the floor over to you.
Absolutely. So the way that I'm actually going to get started is with my chicken. It's over here. I prefer to use bone-in chicken just because I find it to be a little bit more flavorful. I also have really young children, so I'm always all about maximizing their iron intake, so I prefer to use dark chicken. And I also have a little bit of help from my father, who happens to be a local butcher, so he cleaned it up for me really nicely. You could leave the skin on if you want. I chose not to for today. So I've got my chicken here, and I'm also, just like Gina, going to start off by making my marinade. So the first thing I like to do is go ahead and add in my yogurt or sour cream. Today I'm using sour cream because that's what I happen to have at home. So I've got that in my bowl, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in a tablespoon of oil. You can use any oil that you prefer. Today I'm using canola oil just because it's very neutral tasting, and I want my spices to really shine through in the recipe, so I prefer to use canola oil. Now, if you've ever seen tandoori chicken, you know that it's a beautiful, vibrant red color. And it gets that from the tandoori powder, which I'll talk to you a little bit about, but also from a little bit of tomato paste. So I'm going to go ahead and add in tomato paste. And after years and years of trying this recipe and figuring out what was wrong with it, I realized that it honestly really needed a little bit of mayo. So I've got a tablespoon of mayo in here.
Ooh, that's your secret ingredient.
Yes. I really don't know what the purpose is, but I think it kind of just helps emulsify everything together really nicely.
Wow, I love these tips. Awesome.
So I've got my wet ingredients in here, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my more dry ingredients. So I've got my tandoori powder. I'm going to add that in. You just need about a tablespoon. If you wanted a little bit more flavor, you could do a tablespoon and a half. And I actually brought a few different tandoori powders that I've experimented with. I have to say this Kassan brand is probably one of my favorites in terms of color, not too much additional sodium and not too much heat. But there are other options available at really large grocery stores, or you could even find them online nowadays, or at a local Indian grocery store if you have one in your neighborhood. So my favorite happens to be Kassan.
Ah, good to know. Another great tip.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and add in my turmeric, that's a teaspoon. And then I've got some cumin as well. And if you don't have ground cumin, don't worry about it. You can use whole cumin seed, just grind it up with a mortar and pestle or even a rolling pin, and you can add that in. I've also got some garlic. And then the last ingredient is going to be my ginger. And this is thawed down a little bit, but my kitchen hack is actually to just finely grate or use a microplane with frozen ginger. So I usually buy my ginger from the grocery store, chop it up, and then leave it in the freezer and then use it as I need it. And the reason why I like this is because I actually find when I'm grating it, I'm getting really, really fine pieces of ginger, and so it helps to really marinate the chicken and spread that ginger flavor throughout the dish. So I'm just going to finish this off.
Wow, Nita, you've got so many great little tips.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm loving to learn all these wonderful tips. I'm sure everyone that's tuning in as well is enjoying some of these awesome little kitchen hacks that you have to share with us.
Yeah.
I want to also just mention that a Facebook Live grilling party wouldn't be a Facebook Live if we didn't have great prizes. So while Nita starts to whisk up that delicious looking and smelling marinade, I want to mention that we have two $50 gift cards up for grabs, grocery gift cards. We also have our signature Manitoba chicken meat thermometers, and Nita's going to give us a couple tips for using that in a moment. But just for tuning in and asking us a question, sharing a comment, or sharing your favorite chicken grilling recipe with us, you are eligible to win one of our two prize packs. And I will be direct messaging the lucky winners at the end of our Facebook Live this evening. Oh wow, Nita, that looks beautiful.
Thank you. So
Oh,
now
nice.
I'm just gonna mix the
color
marinade in with all of the chicken. I personally like to get right in there with my hands, but if you want to use a spatula, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And my preference is to actually marinate this overnight, but if you only have an hour on your hands, that's fine. Just make sure you're marinating in the fridge. And then in terms of cooking, you can lay it flat on a baking sheet and bake it that way, or you're more than welcome to barbecue it up. Sometimes I'll also bake it and then finish it off on the barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
But you really want to make sure that you're making or bringing your meat, especially chicken, to the correct temperature. So for my meat, I'm actually going to make sure that it makes its way up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you were using or preparing a whole chicken, then you'd want to get a little bit higher, up to about 180 degrees, okay?
Yeah, one of our favorite kitchen tools we always say when we get a chance to chat, right, Nita, is the good old meat thermometer.
Meat thermometer.
Yep. Foolproof. You never need to second guess whether your chicken is fully cooked. And the other thing too is you don't want to overcook chicken and dry it out either, right?
No.
So you just get it to the right temperature.
No. Yeah. And in terms of, once the dish is done, you know that it's, brought up to temp, then what I recommend doing is either serving it with some rice, you could serve it with naan, you could even put it in a wrap and enjoy it that way. My kids just love this recipe.
Yeah, mine do too. And I do too. Yep, and it makes great finger food. Like even your youngest son, he's just over a year old now, and he can pick up a whole chicken drumstick.
Yeah, he's been having probably the drumstick since he was about 7 months old, which is just fascinating to me. But he loves it. Yeah.
And like you said, the dark meat is a great source of iron. All chicken is a wonderful source of iron, but there's actually more iron in the dark meat. So not only are these recipes delicious, fun to make as you can see, and easy, but they're also very healthy. And chicken is such a great source of complete protein. And I just want to thank all of our wonderful farmers. Here in Manitoba, we have 123 family-owned and operated farms. And through the thick and thin of everything we've been going through over the last few months, they have continued to raise and produce chicken for all of us here in Manitoba and Northwestern Ontario to enjoy and to nourish our families. So I just want to send a big shout out and thanks to all of our wonderful Manitoba chicken farmers. And at this point, Nita and I would love to open the floor to anyone's questions or comments.
We have a question from Michelle, and she says, do you wash your chicken? I have heard both ways. I'm just curious about how to do it.
All Great. Well, you absolutely.
popular question.
It is a popular question. So thank you, Michelle, for asking that question. You should absolutely wash your hands, but not wash your chicken. Washing your chicken doesn't make it safer to eat. Only cooking your chicken makes it safe to eat. And like Nita and I said, our best kitchen tool is a meat thermometer to ensure that your chicken is properly cooked. Rinsing chicken can actually spread the droplets and has the potential to spread foodborne illness to things like your sink and your counter and your utensils. So you absolutely do not need to rinse your chicken before cooking it. You just need to cook it properly. Thank you for that great question.
And Michelle has another great question. She says, is it true that Manitoba chicken doesn't have growth hormones?
That is absolutely true. All of Manitoba chicken and all chickens raised across Canada never ever contain any hormones or steroids. They've been absolutely banned since the early 60s. They're not allowed. You can look for the Raised by a Canadian Farmer logo on your fresh packs of chicken, and that gives you the assurance that you are buying Canadian, high quality, nutritious chicken. All of the chicken is grain fed. Chickens are never raised in cages. They run free in clean, well ventilated modern barns and always have access to plenty of grain-based food and water, and hormones and steroids are never ever used in chicken farming in Canada. So thanks for that awesome question.
Here's a question for Nita. Is the tandoori chicken meal spicy, as in hot?
So the recipe that I created is not spicy or hot. It may vary from, you know, which masala or which tandoori powder you use, but if you did want a little bit of extra heat, then you're more than welcome to add that in. So actually in my spice box, I have a little bit of cayenne here, so you're more than welcome to add a little bit of that if you wanted to turn the heat up a little.
Okay, we're getting lots of questions here.
Oh, that's great.
From Kristen, what do you think is the best way to sanitize or clean your meat thermometer between testing the temperature?
Oh, another super question. You know what? Just hot soapy water. The probe can be washed in hot soapy water. You can also make a sanitizing solution with 1 teaspoon of bleach and 3 cups of water and just spray the meat thermometer, then rinse it off and wipe it off before you test again. But hot soapy water does the trick.
Here is another question for Nita. What is a tandoor?
Yeah, so a tandoor is a cylindrical clay oven. And historically in India, I actually had one at my wedding. I remember this as I was driving into Gina's home. And it's traditionally used to cook meat in and place naan on the sides, and it cooks it really, really beautifully and very quickly as well. So that's a tandoor, and I think it got its name from, you know, chicken being cooked in a tandoor.
Amazing. And Nita, you have something else here that's just so beautiful too, your little spice kit. Sorry, I'm jumping in with a question, but you know what, if you could show that to everyone and share a little bit about what that is, that looks just so fantastic. You got your little, it's like your little kitchen toolbox, your spice toolbox.
Yeah. So I think most Indian homes tend to have a little spice box. I have mine very accessible. Usually when you're preparing a meal, it would be right beside you. And I've got a variety of different spices, and I know that they all sometimes can end up looking the same, except with the exception of the turmeric and the chili powder there. But in the middle, I know I have my garam masala, which is usually a mix of all of the spices. So I'm always very careful about where my garam masala is placed so that I don't get it confused with the ground cumin there.
And what do you call that?
I call it a dabba, actually.
Okay.
A dabba or a thali. Yeah.
Wonderful. It just makes your spices so accessible and easy to access, hey?
Yeah.
They're all right there.
Yep.
We have a question from Tita. She says, can you pre-skewer the chicken the evening before?
You absolutely can. Just make sure you wrap it up very well on with saran wrap, and then it's ready to go on the grill. I tend to skewer the chicken and put it on the grill. The chicken is cut thin, it cooks quickly, so the skewering really doesn't take that long, but you can certainly do that. Yeah, you might lose a little bit of the marinade onto the dish that you've got the chicken skewered on, and you could just use like a little barbecue brush and brush it back on before you put it on the grill.
And then one last question from Marcy. She would like to know, how many days can chicken be in the fridge before you need to bake it?
Okay, well, always when you buy packaged chicken, it'll always have the best buy date or the date it should be used by, and you can use that date. If you do not see that date on the chicken, you can keep chicken in the fridge for 3 days. And you can also freeze chicken for 6 months, and whole chicken can be frozen in a deep freeze for an entire year. So it's definitely a wonderful ingredient to stock up on. And I love to use the Ziploc freezer bags for freezing chicken and label it so I know how much I've frozen, if I've frozen chicken breasts or thighs, and of course the date that I put it into the freezer. It's a wonderful item to have on hand because it's so versatile and you can make so many things with chicken. I would encourage everyone to go to our website, manitobachicken.ca, where we actually have hundreds of wonderful recipes and many grilling recipes. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Oh, and Nita is picking up our brand new booklet. So yeah, this is a brand new resource that we are so proud of. It's hot off the press. I'll be sending one out to each winner with their meat thermometer, and we've got some fantastic recipes, food safety tips, farming facts, and chicken prep and storage tips. It's an all-in-one comprehensive resource, and we're so excited to share it with all of you.
This is actually one of my favorite recipes from the website.
Yeah, the bruschetta chicken. So quick and easy, and kids love it too.
Yeah, and actually perfect for right now because I've got so much basil in my garden.
Ah, right. Yeah, we can really use our garden herbs and flavor that chicken. So yeah, thanks Nita for picking up our brand new recipe and cooking education booklet. So Nita and I are so happy that we could do this physically distant summer grilling Manitoba Chicken Facebook Live for all of you this evening. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your summer schedule. Such a nice evening to spend time joining us for this Facebook Live. Thank you everyone. Happy Canada Day, happy summer, happy grilling.
Bye everyone. See you.